Hello. Hello, hello, hello. And welcome to part 3, part 2, part 1. How we doing? Hello, Christy. My chat. I haven't resized my chat properly so that I can actually read what you're writing. Hello! It's part 3 because it's the third stream. It's part 2 because it's the second part of the story. And it's part 1 because we're just starting it. So, how are we all doing? Are we well? You having a good It's Wednesday, isn't it? Yeah? Wednesday. Yes. Having a good Wednesday. Let's set up. I haven't muted the game, have I? I don't think I have. No. Okay, cool. That's fine then. It's just run out of music. That's perfectly acceptable of it. Jump! There it is. I've been using that side swipe for ever since I started streaming, and I've just never changed it. It's very Star Wars. Or, crappy 90s video editing. Yeah, so apparently, I almost missed this. This game has multiple parts. I don't believe they've all been released yet. But there are, if I go to new game, all these different case files, which I thought were the chapters of the game. Turns out no. Turns out this was what we did last time. We did the case of the Chateau Vercoeurly. Oh, Chateau Vercoeurly. Oh, that makes sense. So she did go and set up a vineyard. Nice. Visit Kiatsu. I think that's where we were at some point. Is that where we started? I can't remember. Anywho, that's that part of the story. What with the whole agent stuff. You're good. I'm plodding along, I guess, getting stuff done. Yeah, we've got more of this game to do, which means I have to do more voices. I don't know if there's any connection between. I imagine there's some connection between these stories. Maybe they're just set in the same location. I don't know. But yeah, King of the Mountain. This is a different story, which was released freely for people who have the game, and I assume there's a third one coming if this envelope is anything to go by. So let's have a crack at this. King of the Mountain, King of the Hill. Porrentroy again. Apologies as usual. We're going back in time a little bit more. It's the 19th of August, 1938. Marvelous. Switzerland closes borders to refugees. Under pressure from Germany, Switzerland will no longer offer sanctuaries to refugees without a visa. Since 1933, the small Alpine country has taken in thousands of political refugees, though those seeking asylum due to their race or religion were turned away. Today, all refugees at the Swiss border are being told that the lifeboat is full stop. Although this decision is sure to meet with strong criticism, Switzerland has taken in more refugees from Germany than any other European nation. Okay, we're playing as young girl? Olga? Big eyebrows. She looks a little bit like Mr. Bean. Then again, this is a postcard to Aubrey. I don't know. Maybe we're another secret agent. Who knows? Well, as is usual with these things, the main character gets my voice, so apologies whoever you are. Dearest Aubrey, I hope you know what you're doing. First of all, this unfathomable business with the postcards. Invisible ink, really? Second of all, this assignment. Okay, we are a secret agent, cool. Presumably. I was performing wonders in Paris, I assume you and Control have already made up your minds? The Swiss people are friendly enough, but I detest the climate. Okay, so we have different stamps this time. So this is presumably his coldness. This is being sly as a fox, and this is being good. I was performing well. I'm spectacular. I was doing absolutely excellent things in France because I'm amazing. The German ambassador wrapped around my little finger. Oh no, we're cute. He thought he was the one taking advantage of me. Now I'm gone. I dread to think who will swoop in. Do you want theatrics or sly? Let's be sly. Sneaky. Which is exactly what I wanted him to think. This is combat. It's nice that they came up with new designs for the new character stamps. But I see the sort of similarities. I have no great desire to spend any more time in his company, mind you. By the time I get back, he will be in the thrall of some other debutante. I'm fairly sure I can trust you, Aubrey. Let's try and be consistent with some Fox stuff. You are a charismatic British agent. Oh, yes. I'm fairly sure I can trust you, Aubrey. It's control that I'm worried about. Hold that thought. Here I am at the Swiss border. Goodbye, France! At least Bern is, by all accounts, a relatively civilized city. Or I thought Bern was a person. Act 1. A trail of banknotes. Ooh, 100 franc... whatever that said. Music. Oh, this is the music that played at the end of the last game. Or when we got to the telescope. Yeah. Good stuff. Wonder if I get the soundtrack to this. Good times. You follow a trail of banknotes, good money. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. And a handful of idiot. How you doing, Lewis? You having a good time? We just started a story, even though it's part 3, but it's part 1 of part 2. Don't worry. We are a British agent going into the Alps for some reason. We're charismatic, that is all we know. Off we go. Switzerland so far, Aubrey. Quite hilly, quite chilly. I had hoped to take more time to appreciate the landscape, but Control has given me a reading assignment. I was told it's to be completed before I reach my next stop. It's presumably vital. Story time! Yes. This is the second story. We have already done a story with another secret agent, but that's done, and I don't know if that's connected to this. We'll find out. It's presumably vital, or I'm not going to waste my time with it. So it can either be combative, or presumably vital, I don't know, theatric, or told us to be completed before I reach my next stop. Let's do our job. British agent is enough, saying charismatic is redundant. Ha ha ha. I would have preferred a little more time to prepare, to tell the truth, but I've done as much as I can with the time I have, or I skimmed it. I'll do a good job. I've read and reread the dossier until my eyes hurt. Not yet sure why I need to know so much about the upcoming Grand Prix in Bern. Don't worry, Aubrey, I'll spare you the details about the tyre grip and inside lines, or my handler in Bien better give a good explanation to this. I'll skim the details, you don't need to know about all these things. There's been some juicy controversy, I suppose. A British fellow turned traitor and joined the German team, seduced by their faster cars. And a German hotshot named Fischer has been involved in a number of minor scandals. The number is 17. That's quite a lot of minor scandals. They stack up to a major scandal at this point. Anyway, Mustache Orbs, homework to do. Should specify this is 1938. The previous game took place in 1939, so we are going back in time. In German, it is called Biel, but I shall patriotically refer to it by its French name, Bien. Sure. I wish the Swiss would make up their mind, linguistically speaking. Sounds like the French word for good, does it not? Even the prettiest towns have their secrets. Ah, be sly. I should keep an eye out for trouble. I enjoyed my time in Paris, but I do worry it's made me complacent. We're pulling into the station now. Apparently I'm to meet my handler in a barber shop near the town square. Hopefully I'm not as incompetent as the previous one, who never did meet their contact. We're meeting our handler. That's probably easier to manage. Do you think I should buy him a pretzel on the way? I love this cloak and dagger stuff. It's clearly not a hidey hole designed with a female spies in mind. Good point. It's not take us into account. Pretzel, cloak and dagger. Let's get a pretzel, why not? I got one for myself too. Just the sight of these houses is making me hungry. Here we are, mustache. Bien. I wonder where's the barber? There's barber. Is there a barber somewhere? Is it a statue? Is that a barber? That's a car, I think. I don't think that's a barber. We'll go in here and ask. Excuse me, is there a barber around here? Yeah, what are we going to do in a barber shop? Excuse me, is my husband in here? Oh, it's him again. A bell jingled merrily above the door. It was a Friday afternoon, but the barber shop was empty and silent. A man sat behind the counter, smoking, looking out the window. We're closed, he said brusquely. A French accent, sorry. We're closed. The game has specified French accent. Wish me luck. I was woken this morning by swan song. Look, I can't remember the whole password. Something about geese. Or I offered him a pretzel. Do you want a pretzel? Let's do it properly. I have a pretzel for you, but we'll do this properly. I was woken this morning by swan song. My handler carefully closed the shutters. They sing for the last days of summer. A bit of a melancholy passphrase, isn't it? I studied the dossier thoroughly, but I still don't know why I'm here. You shouldn't have taken me out of Paris at such short notice. I offered him a pretzel. There you go, have a pretzel. Ah, Control trusts me. Yeah. We're closed. He raised an eyebrow, but took it without complaint. It was gone in a few mouthfuls. You had to travel... This is very similar to my German accent. Well, you had to travel to Bern as part of Operation Swansong, he said, brushing crumbs from his moustache. So many code names in our line of work, Aubrey, usually a compound noun for some reason. He took me through the Bern operation in detail, which is very different to our previous mission, where we'd had no clue what we were supposed to do. Apparently, Kurt Fischer, one of the top-ranked stars of the German Grand Prix racing team, is a close personal friend of Adolf Hitler. As you do. So this is all in the dossier, so I know it. Regular afternoon tennis sessions, according to our sources. They met on a hunting trip about 10 years ago. Well, it's all in the dossier. I read it on the train. Fischer has a bit of a reputation, you see. The man is a liar, a cheat, a womanizer, and a scoundrel. What a wonderful CV. He sounds quite fun. Gambler and drunk, you know the type. Yeah, I'll go with what's in the dossier. But we wouldn't be hearing about him if he wasn't also catastrophically bad at poker. As you do. Predictably, he's found himself Predictably, he's found himself neck deep in debt. There we are. Of course, we wouldn't be here if I wasn't catastrophically bad at reading. To pay his debts, he's been embezzling from the Motor Association itself. If the Germans discovered this, he'd be ruined. I bet he litters. Yeah, exactly. Of course, that's what he deserves. We wouldn't want that, would we? I don't know. He doesn't seem like a nice person. I guess we should try and keep our opinion out of an official matter. Otherwise, Control will get mad at us. I'm now charismatic. Okay. Not when he could prove so very useful to us. So we're going to blackmail him, offer to pay off his debts, and turn him into an asset. My handler sat back and stubbed out his cigarette. Here. He placed a brown leather briefcase in front of me. Its bronze clasp was engraved with the image of an old-fashioned galleon, sails to the wind. I unclasped and grasped. What's in there? I rolled my eyes and waited for him to explain. So let's open it. Banknotes, Aubrey. Stacks and stacks of them. We are so surprised. Oh, my word. I would have thought there'd be like a human head in there. 100,000 Swiss francs, he said. Enough to pay off all of Fischer's debts. And enough to buy a couple of nice alpine chalets, Aubrey. The Frenchman's glare could have stripped paint. To be used with discretion. I want most of it back, if possible. A fortune. Control really wants Fischer in his pocket. I took the briefcase. It had a satisfying weight to it. We've been in talks with Fischer for months, said the Frenchman. Apparently French. He's a spy. He's been around lots of places. His accent's changed. It's fine. Until now, he's only been toying with the idea of treason, but we think he's finally ready to flip. Suddenly, we're interrupted by a knock on the door. A beefy gentleman, he looked like a cow, barged his way in. Don't worry, he's one of mine, said the handler. What's the matter, William? The big fellow whispered in his boss's ear, and the Frenchman's expression turned apocalyptic. That's quite an expression. You are followed, he hissed. Go, now. My mind raced. How could I let this happen? Probably the pretzel. Impossible. Or I found myself wishing I'd brought my pistol. Let's think about it. When I exited the building, I saw a sleek black car parked at the end of the gloomy alley. A pair of glittering eyes watched me from the front seat. When I glanced its way, it smoothly drove away. Neck deep. Deck neep. Knee deck. Knee... Yeah. Hello, sneaky person. Goodbye. On my way to the station, I saw the same car again, parked down a quiet alley. Still on my tail. Although I'm an animal. Cool. Marched straight up to the car to be combative. I slipped into a convenient patch of shadow. I ignored Let's slip. I love a good skulk, Aubrey. I, behind some bins, my nemesis, a lurking silhouette in the front seat. A veritable skulk-off. After watching for a while, I decided to walk up and start a conversation. I waited until my tail grew bored and drove off. I sneaked around behind the car and slashed one of the rear tires. Yeah, let's go sneaky. I keep a small knife in the heel of my boot for purposes such as this. I returned to my skulking place. After a short while, the engine started up, the vehicle lurched, and I heard a woman's voice launch into a stream of colourful German curses. Peeked my head out and watched. Stole away into the night. Ooh, do we want to push it? Yeah, let's watch. A slim blonde woman in a fashionable... It's her! It's her again! It's... What was her name? Wolf. Fraulein Wolf. Nazi spy. Spoilers for the first story. A slim blonde woman in a fashionable coat stepped from the car and walked around to inspect the damage. This is the second time I have sabotaged her car. That's kind of satisfying. She walked around to inspect the damage, shaking her head. When she spotted the slashed tire, she actually laughed. I scurried back down my alleyway. Whoever that was, Aubrey, she won't be following me by car anytime soon. It's Wolf. Last I saw you, I left you dangling from a ski thing. What's it called? The cable car. Ooh, here we are. To burn. Or not to burn. Right, we have two routes. We can either get back on the train, or, hoping to throw my new friend off the tail, I caught the bus. She can't follow me by car, right? And she saw me go to the train station. So... bus? Maybe? I don't know if there's probably not a penalty. But then again, if we go by bus, she might arrive there first. I don't know. Feel the burn! This is a short map, shorter than the previous ones. I imagine this is not going to be the end of the... Hey, look at this story. You go to this place, you go to this place, and then you finish. It's great. Let's do the bus. Because I have two reasons to do that. It's probably... I'm bad at this job, I know that. We get... Ooh. Ooh. There. Darling Aubrey. I dearly hope I was able to throw off my pursuer. Otherwise, I suffered this intolerable journey for nothing. Even switch buses halfway through. Gotta be sneaky. Leaks. Hopefully that would prove enough to throw off my pursuer. Just don't use the same sentence twice. It's bad form. Burn was shrouded in twilight by the time I arrived. A long day. I was about ready for bed. I stopped for a quick drink in the hotel, of course. Yeah, we're supposed to be sneaky. Let's not be drinking in hotels. That didn't work out too great last time. It's shrouded in twilight. The sun had slunk low, retreating behind a veil of cloud. My hotel overlooks the Kornhausplatz, a tourist-crammed plaza in the old city. As I hurried there, I saw shadows of black cars at every street corner. Hoping to throw my new friend off the trail. Oh, that's from the old one. Sorry. Okay, maybe it was a closer city thing going on here. The Kornhausplatz. Yes, we're in specific locations in the city. We're not traveling across the country this time. At least not yet. Okay, well. Hello, you're right there. Ooh. Bears. I arrived at the Schreiser Bar. The same hotel that our friend Kurt Fisher was staying at for Sunday's Grand Prix. Even better, my handler had booked me into the room next to his. First thing I did was press an ear against the wall. I knocked on his door. That evening I contrived to bump into Fisher at the hotel bar. Well, let's have a listen in, see what happens. I was in luck. The walls are wafer thin. Wafer thin. The grain house place. That's probably the place where they used to sell grain, I guess. I mean, we have like, oh, what are they called? like corn exchange and things like that are used as like big event places. I can't remember what they're called. Anyway, I could hear Fisher shuffling around, the scratchy murmur of the radio, the pop of a cork. After 5 minutes, Fisher swore loudly in German and turned the radio off. The door slammed. Rushed into the corridor to catch him before he left. That evening I contrived to bump into. While he was out, I picked his lock. How sneaky can we be? Let's be sneaks. Amazing what you could do with a hairpin, Aubrey. Should be in standard issue. Fisher didn't have much in his room. Spare clothing, assorted hair tonics. There was a safe under the bed, but I couldn't crack it. Hairpin, not that good. Under a loose floorboard, I found a wad of documents, newspaper clippings, bills, and a letter in Russian. Unfortunately, I don't speak it. I stuffed it into a pocket for later examination. I left the room planning to bump into him at the hotel bar. I settled into a comfortable armchair and waited for him to return. Oh, do we want to be theatrical, or do we want to be... He'll probably just call hotel security, I guess. Just like use the words with spaces, why make one word? Stupid past people. I mean, it happens to their varying degrees in various languages. We have it a little bit. Not too much. I mean, this is a postcard, which I would call a postcard. Both are one word. They could be two. But yeah. Hi, Kiro. How you doing? Welcome to the second story. This is a new story. We're now playing as her, another British agent. We've just been taken to France so that we can blackmail a not very nice Formula One driver who has massive gambling debts. Stop blocking the word Kiro. Bloody auto mod, honestly. They're being intentionally dumped. It's fine, don't worry. Language is weird. Right, do we want to be theatrical? Allow. Yes, Kiro with the question mark is also blocked. Is there any way to whitelist words for auto mod? Doing okay, how are you? Yeah, plodding along. Glad you're okay. Okay, yeah, so do we want to... We've just picked the lock to his hotel room. Oh, and Wolf's here. Wolf's following us, which is not great. This is a year before the first game, so... Which makes sense, because... Well, actually, I don't know what happened to Wolf after the last story, but we did whack her in the back of the head with a pistol. Well, we didn't, but what's-her-face did. Get you Sunday, Automod. Kiro versus Automod, the ultimate battle. Yeah, so we've broken into his room, and we're choosing to either stay here and wait for him to come back, or bump into him at the hotel bar. Now that that's over for now, hi, K1R0. I think I looked it up. I think it means, like... It's like a minor insult in, like... a sort of... I can't remember what sort of language it is, but it means like small boy or something. And I'm like, if that's the worst that it is, I think Automod's probably being a little bit touchy. I mean, let's go. Well, this option's been here from the start, and this option is just here because we broke into the room. But I feel like this is probably not the ideal. Ran away to lunch. Have we paid off Hitler's BFF debts and blackmailed him yet? We have just broken into his hotel room. And we are choosing whether or not we want to go and bump into him in the hotel bar or wait for him to return in his room, just sat in a chair, being all spy-like. It's just a colour in Japanese. I can't remember. Shiro, isn't it? It's white. I don't know. Let's be theatric. Why not? I'm now a swindler. An interminable half hour, but it was worth it just to see the expression on Fisher's face when he walked through the door. He bellowed in fright. He was shockingly handsome, Aubrey. He took my breath away for a moment. The colour drained from his face. Was he German? I can't remember. Shiro's right. Kuro is black. Okay, so it's grey. Kiro is grey. Got it. But let's not say grey. Let's say silver. The colour drained from his face. Who the devil are you? How did you get into my room? He sounds like a revving car. Annie Taylor here on behalf of the British government to discuss repaying your debts. I believe you've been expecting me, Herr Fisher. Heard you were looking to sell your loyalties to the highest bidder. What have you been expecting me? I don't think he has. I mean, like, we're going for the flair, right? I believe you've been expecting me. His eyes widened. He headed straight for the drinks cabinet. Meet me by the fountain in 20 minutes. He slugged back a brandy. Vols it was in here. Then he turned on his heel and left, slamming the door behind him. Bang. No bang? No bang. Sploosh! Oh, look at that. Courthouse Platz is famous for a particularly grotesque fountain known as the Child Eater of Bern. Well, that's a thing. It features a large, colourful statue of a storybook ogre, busy cramming screaming children into its oversized maw. Oh. This is where I found Fisher, waiting for me, smoking a cigarette. The only indication of his nervousness was the relentless tap-tap-tap of his foot. I'm Joe, your mama. Gin is silver? Gin's see-through, isn't it? What a vile thing to find in such a lovely place. Why couldn't we just meet in your room? Walls are too thin, he knows. Tell me, what's Hitler like as a person? He looks very smug. Potential gin girl, Gin, the silver gin. Gin? Also me, hello. Hello. This is the problem with having a conversation where one of you speaks and the other one types. There's terrible downtime. What do we? Well, let's do. I want to avoid talking about Hitler if it's all possible. I'm now deceptive. Am I? I don't like the statue. A pleasure to meet you too, Fraulein. Fisher actually winked. I showed him the Russian letter I found in his room. What's this? Told him we could pay off his debts if he became our man. He thinks. I bet he thinks I'm Wolf. I pressed a wad of banknotes into his hand. Showed him the Russian letter. Oh, just Chris. Oh, I can't remember what I said. I don't know. I would be interested to know. I picked them up. Be nice to know. But then again, would he tell me the truth? Let's try and find out. That rattled him, Aubrey. Did you break into my room? Yes, I was there. You saw me. I can't discuss that now. Not here. He tried to change the subject. I have a document showing the map coordinates of secret factories across Germany. Tanks, munitions, planes. Would that be of interest? I waved the Russian letter in his face and told him not to change the subject. You can imagine my excitement, Aubrey. Am I to take you at your word, Herr Fisher? Show me. Give me evidence. It is in a safe place. Fisher grinned. You were right about the statue. It is a rather gloomy venue to speak with such a beautiful young woman. How about we talk further tomorrow evening? Fisher stubbed out a cigarette on the child eater's toe. Tomorrow there is a pre-race party aboard a yacht on the Waldsee. Care to accompany me? He looks nice, but we know he's not, so no idea how to read him. I suspect he was just buying time, Aubrey. I caught him off guard. Is it wise to party the evening before a Grand Prix? He doesn't care. Threatened all sorts of retaliations if he didn't hand over the document immediately. Caught him off guard. He dislikes me. Good. But I wasn't in a position to make demands. I don't have a formal invitation for you, but you're a spy. You'll figure it out. Fisher smiled. See you tomorrow. I had trouble sleeping that night, Aubrey. Today's dragged on awfully while I wait for the party. Sure. Dragged on. I want to get this Bern business over and done with. I have a terrible feeling that Fisher might change his mind and slip away. In the cold light of the Swiss sun, last night's subterfuge seems like a surreal dream, but the evening's almost here, and it's time to go. Wish me luck. He looks nice, yes, but always be cautious. Always be cautious of people who look nice. I look like I'm about to punch somebody in the face. And I'm nice. So, looks are deceptive. Okay, what are we going to do? We'll get this two ways. I waited, before the party began, I snuck aboard at the docks. I waited until dark and took a rowboat after the party was in full swing. Why not? You sneak aboard the docks ahead of time. Sneak aboard at the docks, rather. It's a Jib! Hello! We're sneaking on a boat. I'll give you a brief introduction as to what... Oh, something's happening in the streets. My dearest Aubrey, I arrived at the pier in the early afternoon. A horde of burly stevedores were coordinating with a fussy-looking waiter to load the yacht with industrial quantities of wine and canapes. It's El Jib Grande. Big Jib. How you doing, Jib? Yeah, you doing all right? Oh, just in case, Jib. CH3B. K1R0 and CH3B. Oh. I concealed myself within a likely-looking crate. I strolled up to the gangplank, bold as brass. I offered one of the stevedores 100 Swiss francs to help me sneak aboard. I can't be throwing the money around too much. Let's do the sneaky hide in a crate. I slipped off the lid and jumped into claustrophobic darkness. The crate seemed to be filled with an assortment of long objects designed expressly to poke in the most vulnerable parts of an enterprising stowaway. I tried to rearrange them, but my funneling attempts in the dark only made things worse. I let him match. The next 20 minutes were extremely uncomfortable. I'm now fascinating. Hey, look at me. I'm fascinating. What about the Keith Dawes? Stephen Keith. Yeah, good. I'm doing all right. Is Cheb your Android name? Cheb is your secret spy name, so the auto mod doesn't find you. Finally, I was picked up by a group of stevedores. They handled the crate with all the delicacy of a kitten batting a ball of yarn. When it was finally over, I rolled out onto the floor and collapsed in a pile of bruises. I'd made it aboard the boat, but I looked like I'd lost a fight. That's what I mean by fascinate. I hid in the hold until I was absolutely sure the coast was clear. Heard the happy mix of music and laughter from above. Time to work my magic. Sure. Work the magic, yeah. Stepping above deck, I grabbed a drink from the tray of a passing waiter and did my best to blend in. Right, okay, so here's summary so far. We are now a different British agent. It is 1938, it's a year in the past from the previous game. We have been taken from France to here in order to blackmail a German race car driver who has massive gambling debts and is a not very nice person. Also friends of Hitler. And for reasons. I think he knows a lot about... He's friends of Hitler, probably knows a bunch of stuff that we want to know. We've already met Wolf. She's still here. She's here now. She's apparently been doing stuff in Switzerland for a while. And she's following us, which is not great. We snuck into his room. I.e. broke into his room. We stole some letters that were in Russian. Don't know what they mean. And he's told us to meet us aboard a yacht to discuss terms for the blackmail. I don't know how that works. We're not really blackmailing him with anything, are we? We have money. We have a briefcase full of money. I forgot to mention that. Collapsed in a pile of bruises is a sentence you like somehow. You like it happening to other people. You made a whole ass bunker in the first game. Money is the best blackmail. It's green mail. Bern prepares for the Grand Prix. There's a Grand Prix happening in Bern. That's why we're here. Switzerland's capital is gripped with attention today as it anticipates the Grand Prix race occurring this week. Is Bern the capital of Switzerland? Didn't know that. The racers will be competing on the Bremgarten circuit, and thousands of motor enthusiasts have arrived in the city to witness the event. We also found a fountain that was a bear eating children. The track is notorious, one of the most dangerous in Europe, particularly in the rain, with deadly twists and turns that catch even experienced drivers off guard. Oh yeah, we slashed their tyres. We slashed the fuel line in the last game, we slashed their tyres in this game. That was great. Fountain was, yeah, it was a child eater. What it was called. It's a classic, subtle name. Ah! That's the name of this boat. Ah! That was the river, isn't it? This is called the GPS. The Global Positioning Yacht. The champagne bubbled, the wine flowed. I'm not sure what verb is appropriate for the fondue. Glooped. Schlorped. The party was a whirl of unfamiliar faces. I couldn't spot Fisher among them. I suspected I might find him at the bar. I made a circuit of the boat, scanning the crowd. That will be thorough. The statue in the fountain, yes. No luck. As I searched, I was accosted by an Italian race car driver in a state of some excitement. He grabbed at my hands, shouting and encouraging me to dance. His name was Cornelio, if I remember the Grand Prix dossier correctly. An eccentric millionaire, driving a car of his own design. I extricated myself as politely as I could. I kicked him very hard in the shin. Well, we danced for a while. I'll be trying not to draw attention to myself. I am a spy. He laughed, drunkenly brushed some imaginary dust off my shoulders and stumbled away, knocking over a pyramid of fancy chocolates. Ferrero Rocher. The other attendees, much less far gone, murmured to each other in consternation. That's when I saw her. The blonde woman who had been following me in bien. She was here, smiling, simpering, chatting to a chiseled young man with the look of a race car driver. She flashed me a look. Our eyes met. Her smile widened. She wasn't worth the trouble. I decided to avoid her. Stormed over to confront her. I curled my mouth into a smile that was equally barbed. Let's be... Because last time, every time we tried to be nice to her last time, bad things happened. So we're just going to stay away from her. Thought it was a case of the fountain turns out to be a real-life bear eating children. You were wondering what it was going on with our character to mistake a bear for a fountain. Yeah, it turns out it wasn't water. It was child blood. Pfft. Yeah, let's just avoid it. When I looked back, she was gone. Never thought I'd be so glad to see Kurt Fisher's face in a crowd. There he is. Look at that smug bugger. He was deep in conversation with another driver, boasting, of course. I have no use for helmets. He's now French. He was proclaiming proudly, my German skull is tough enough on its own, and as for these... At this point, Aubrey had pulled a pair of goggles from his... That's the sound the fondue makes. From his breast pocket. Useless things. They won't save a man in the road if it decides his time has come. When I try and do a German accent, it's French. When I try and do a French one, it's German. I don't know what's happening. Wouldn't want you to lose those brilliant blue eyes. Your time has come, Herr Fisher. Oh, ominous. Your time has come, Herr Fisher. Time to describe where your loyalties lie. Fisher turned, a devilish grin on his face. Annie... The German, I don't know. Try to do a French accent, we try and do a German then. Okay. Annie, you made it aboard. Well done. That does work, actually. I don't think I know what a German or French accent is. Neither of them are probably accurate in any way, but to my useless ears, useless British ears, he ushered his drinking companion away. Once again, I confronted him about the Russian letter I discovered in his room. I decided to forget about the letter and give him the benefit of the doubt. No, I want to know what this letter is. I stole your letters and I want to know. He clearly had a chance to think things over since yesterday. His smile was cold. A letter from a pen pal. Nothing more. It doesn't... Yeah. A letter from a pen pal, nothing more. I cannot work for someone who does not trust me any. Jimmy, why did that work? The only way to salvage the mission was to hand him the briefcase. As far as I was concerned, the mission was compromised. It was obvious he was hiding something. I pressed him. After a few pointed questions, he crumpled like old newspaper. I've also been speaking to the Russians about paying off my debts, he admitted. They made a better offer, and they have a seaplane waiting for me at the Interlaken. I just need to bring them the documents, and they'll take me to the safety of Moscow. Why are you even still here, Herr Fisher? So you were trying to play us for fools? Why invite me to this party at all? There you have it, Aubrey. I'd finally uncovered the truth. What a waste of time. There's a lot of options here. Said you did for German accent when you tried to do a French and vice versa. It's the most logical conclusion. You expected some sort of consistency from my brain, and it's rarely a sensible decision. Why are you still here? So you were trying to play us for fools. We're doing a lot of foxy things at the moment, so let's do foxy stuff. Fisher despises me. Fisher nodded. I was hoping to get as much money from the British. Stop. Do the French one. I was hoping to get as much money from the British as I could before I vanished, but I suppose you've caught me. Shouldn't have made it quite so gruff. Why are you even still here? Why invite me to this party at all, then? Why are you still here? One more race, said Fisher. That's all I wanted. Yeah, why invite me? I wanted your money. Fisher paused. And you're an attractive young woman, Annie. But I see now that you and I could never get along. True. What a waste of time. There you have it. I finally uncovered the truth. There would be no agreement with Fisher. As the party wound up and the yacht pulled into the docks, I saw Fisher slip into the night, accompanied by a familiar figure, Fraulein Wolf. How do I know what her name is? I haven't met her yet. Inconsistency with the writing. They were laughing, chatting, intimately close together. I still wanted those documents he'd mentioned, even if I had to steal them. I have them. Pretty sure I had them. He has smoked for 40 years, it's fine. Yeah, but I haven't. I followed at a distance of approximately 7 miles. Scrolly scroll. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Oh, there we go. 2 palettes loomed out of the shadows like a pair of tombstones. I ran into a little trouble with the police along the way. I don't know. We've been told. I don't know what Swiss people sound like, so they sound like this now. We've been told, young lady, your description was trespassing at the Grand Prix party. Is this true? I assured them that they were mistaken. I kicked one of them in the shins. This game really wants me to kick someone in the shins. Who do you think I am, Jimmy? Offered them. I'm not going to bribe them. Assured them they were mistaken. They were having precisely none of it and wanted to take me in for questioning. Short on options, I fled down a side alley. Tried to be nice. Didn't want to kick him in the shins. Swiss can sound a lot of ways. Seb shows knives. It's just you. Okay, the knife stamp is Chib. We know this. Okay, so the police are looking for me now. I guess that's they wanted to set up for the police to look for me. So rather than muddy my dress, I scurried across the rooftops. Yeah, sure. Let's do some rooftop stuff rather than crawl in a ditch. Secret agent, not a mole. That's a different job. A complication. Curse this damp country, Aubrey. The tiles were slick from fog and my foot slid. I'm having bad luck with words. My foot slid out from under me as I tried to jump from one rooftop to the other. Test of grit, test of poise. Probably neither, to be honest, but we'll work it out. Success! Hey, look at that. A lesser woman would have done herself a mischief, Aubrey, but not me. I love that phrase. Done herself a mischief. Just a lovely phrase. I hippity-hopped over the wet tiles, got my skidding feet back under control, and bowed to the moon with a flourish. So theatrical. Love it. I like our character. The moon applauded. I clambered over Burn's steeply sloping rooftops. The police swept the streets below with torches, shouting to each other, but I was above their reach. Is this the... That's not really a bear, is it? It's sort of like a... I mean, that's the bear, I guess. The bear is eating... I don't know what's going on. Oh no, this is the hotel, I guess. When I finally arrived back at my hotel room, I was exhausted. I listened to the wall, but Fisher's room was silent. Had he and Wolf given me the slip? Forced myself to stay awake, waiting their return. I picked Fisher's lock and waited in his room. Am I going to keep doing that? The lady needs her beauty sleep. I feel like they're going to know... I've done this once before, right? I feel like that's probably a bad idea. And the police are looking for me. Best not give them an excuse to arrest me. Just do it for style points. Fine. You're a bad influence. When Fisher and Wolf walked through the door, I was waiting in the corner of the room. The smiles died on their lips. I had a witty bon mot ready to be deployed. I don't know what that means. I believe this woman is a German agent here, Fisher. I'd made a grave error. I kicked their shin. I mean, I guess. I don't know why I believe this. I mean, I know someone's following me. I don't know why I would think they're German. That doesn't sound like you. Yes, I believe this woman is a German agent here, Fisher. Fisher looked suddenly horrified. As he turned to Wolf, she produced a Mauser pistol from her belt and smiled venomously. There's a lot of interesting adjectives for facial expressions. Apocalyptic faces and venomous smiles. Love it. She motioned for Fisher to sit on the bed. "You will tell me everything, Herr Fisher," she said, her gun wavering between the two of us. She went through the standard interrogation routine. Double-crosser had become the double-crossed. Standard fare, I've been through this. He told her everything, his embezzlements, his debts, my identity. He even told her about the secret file full of German military coordinates. Wolf ordered Fisher to open up his safe. A pause as she examined the contents. Tut, tut. Do I tut or do I say tut? I don't know. Let's cut out the middleman. Toot, toot, Herr Fisher, she said. Sorry, toot, toot, Herr Fisher, she said. A click as she turned off her safety catch. This could harm Germany a great deal if it fell into the wrong hands. I could see that Wolf had murder on her mind. Sudden visions of my childhood flashed before my eyes. Yes, I could see she was going to kill someone. She levelled her pistol at Fisher. Back home we will cast you as a true Nazi patriot and blame the Jews for your assassination. At least your reputation will be salvaged, Herr Fisher. A gun swung between the two of us. I waited until it was pointed at Fisher and... Kill him if you like, but leave me out of it. I screamed for help. Might do this one, to be honest. I mean, we are theatrical, so it makes sense to do that, but at the same time... I hated looking at his adjective face. Oh, you're looking very adjective today. This is probably going to end in tears, but I'm going to take the chibi option. Kurt Fisher dislikes you once more. Kurt Fisher has never liked me. He despised me last time I met him. I snatched a letter opener from Fisher's desk and hurled it. I must confess, I had visions of the blade sticking in her eye. In the event, the handle just bounced off her head, making her stagger. Fisher took advantage of her distraction. Quick as an adder. Quick as a snake. He surged from his seat and knocked the gun from her hand. While she scrabbled to retrieve it, he grabbed the manila folder and fled. Oh, hang on. My chat disconnected for some reason. Not sure what's going on there. Oh, that's interesting. My chat disconnected, but my bot still kept track of all of the chat messages. Okay, whether you kill him, have you looked at him? Yep. Obeisons. Okay, that worked. Maybe I should do more chip things in future. Who knows? Also, Frame Man is... Well, actually, no, just the connection's odd. Apparently the connection's bad, but I'm still transmitting just as much information as I ever have been. I don't know, well, that's a weird one. Definitely the best secret agent ever, absolutely. Waiting to smashed window or something. No, that was the end of the last game, wasn't it? Oh, we're leaving Bern. I ran down the street after them both. I took a shortcut through the back alleys. Take a shortcut. Boom. To the Grand Prix. To the Grand Prix. Kicks open door. Complication. Unfortunately, I was too trusting of the map of Bern I'd been provided. As I ran through the alleys, it became clear I was lost. Test of composure, test of insight. Success. Theatrical. In situations like these, Aubrey, the only option is to ask a stranger. I put on my best impression of a dazed tourist and asked for directions to the Grand Prix. The young gentleman was more than happy to help. It's Twitch, it makes sense. Makes as much sense as Twitch ever does. Oh, another complication. No, postcard. The streets were seething with rain. Seething with rain. I never knew rain was angry. I was drenched before I'd taken a dozen steps. Rather than trail along at Fisher's heels, I decided to try and beat him to the Grand Prix. That's where he was headed, Aubrey, make no mistake. Fortunately, the dossier had come with a map of Bern. I took a shortcut through the old city's narrow alleyways. For the good of the country, I had to get my hands on Fisher's file. Wasn't going to let the Fraulein win. We're an agent. Goat! The plan was a good one. It might have even worked. But there was a market that day, and the alleys were crammed with stalls and Sunday shoppers. It was a giant obstacle course. Put my foot straight into a birdcage. I tripped over a terrified goat. I was ensnared by a clothesline. I vaulted over a stall, sending oranges rolling in all directions. This is a chibi one, isn't it? Didn't your character do this in a RPG? I seem to remember drawing oranges rolling everywhere when somebody knocked over a thing. So the temptation is goat, but at the same time, this feels far too coincidental. Did you write this game? Can you give me any hints? Also, I'm trying to think who we remind me of. Who our character does. Don't know who it is. The temptation is goat, but I feel like I really should get there fast. No hints. Every time I've picked goat, it has been bad. No hints, just goats. It's got its own stamp. You've got it. Gotta be nice. It's got its own stamp. Skip over it. Which promptly ran loose from its master, knocking a pail of milk directly onto my head. Okay, that was just incidental, I guess. This is new, though. I can assure you, Aubrey, it was not remotely funny. It was not remotely. I'm very serious. A man's life was at stake. My hair was drenched with goat milk. It was the wisdom of another great Jones. When in doubt, punch Nazis and use a whip. But we haven't used. We have not. We have had occasion to knock her out before, so not us yet. Ooh, that's true. My word! At such angry rain, it's furious. Today, the city of Bern is aflame. It's a drench with Grand Prix fever. The race will begin in the early hours of the morning in what is expected to be wet conditions. Timothy Sidhurst of Britain and Ruprecht Chemiso of Germany are the favourites for the top spot. Though King of the Mountain, Kurt Fischer, may upset the apple cart once again, or the goat milk container. It's very, very wet. Grand Prix de Suisse. I have no idea what that means. This it's impenetrable translation. Right, okay, people. Oh, there are two people in there. What's going on there? Was that me? Did I sneak aboard the car? What's going on? The circuit starts at Bremgarten, a little town swallowed by the expanding borders of Bern long ago. It had been utterly transformed for the Grand Prix. Swiss flags rippled above the crowd stands. Sleek, cigar-shaped race cars were lined up at the start line, rain drumming their hoods. All this just to watch a few fast cars go in circles, Aubrey. I was in awe of the spectacle. Thanks to the dossier, I was able to recognise the cars and the men who drove them. I read the dossier. It took bloody ages. I'm going to use that information. Top seed Ruprecht Chemiso smoking a cigarette beside his Munich Meteor. Tim Sidhurst arguing with his mechanics. Fischer was fighting off fans and autograph hunters. He shoved his way to his race car, ignoring the rebukes of his team, and jumped into the driver's seat. Yeah, there we are. There's the oranges. And meat. Charged towards him, ignoring the shouts of the officials. I slipped past the cordon and tried to blend in with the engineers. Sneaky space sneaky. Of course I failed. Great. None of the Grand Prix teams employed female engineers. Probably should have thought about that. It's 1938. I stood out like a sore thumb. A race official grabbed my arm. Where do you think you're going? Wondering that an assassin was planning to end Kurt Fischer's life. I feigned a swoon. A swift punch to his throat loosened his grip nicely. This is my temptation, but at the same time, we have had success with chibi strats. I feel like maybe we're a bit more no nonsense. We did buy a pretzel for our control, and he was happy about that. So we have been kind, but we have also been shinigeki. Or throat punchy. I feel like this is a moment of tension. Be a kind for now? Okay, let's be a kind. He seemed to think I was just another fan driven to obsession by Fischer's fame and good looks. He called over a friend and the two of them dragged me away. After a moment I spotted Wolf approaching Fischer's car and shaking off an official. She was holding a gun in the pocket of her coat. I shouted a warning. I turned away, unable to watch what happened next. I knew she wouldn't be fool enough to kill him in front of a crowd. Shouted a what? Fischer shouted with alarm when he saw the Fraulein looming towards him through the rain haze. With no time to spare, he slammed his foot on the accelerator and roared across the line, drenching Wolf with a scythe of tyre spray. The crowd gasped. He jumped the gun! Should have used throat punch. I'm now in this car. Let's go. In the ensuing chaos, the men dragging me off loosened their grips. I slipped free and hid behind a column of tyres. The officials briefly consulted with each other. A decision was reached. Fisher was disqualified, but the race would go on. Wasn't going to let him escape that easily. If he knew he was disqualified, Fisher would have nothing to gain by sticking to the circuit. He would. Pride. Sensible course of action was to wait until the Grand Prix was over. I want to do Fox, because Fox has been my path through this largely. He doesn't know he's disqualified? He probably does. But then again, he's also incredibly egotistical and probably thinks, they can't disqualify me! I'm Kurt Fisher! Yeah, well, I'm not going to let him escape that easily. I'm finding him. I made my way over to Cornelio's car. He looked up mournfully from his sick bucket. Oh, it's the Italian from the party. I'm taking the car. Your manager wants to speak with you. Your manager would like to speak with you. He nodded and trudged away. As soon as his back was turned, I slipped into the driving seat. As I placed my hands on the wheel, someone slid in behind me, a gun barrel pressed to my spine. Make no fuss, said Fraulein Wolf. Just drive. I stared down at the controls. The dossier flashed through my mind. I put the car into gear. The engine growled, and the green flag flew. Green flew. Gunshot! Tires squealed, struggling to grip the rain-slick asphalt. We roared from the start line along the other cars. The Grand Prix had begun, and I'd found myself taking part. There must have been a murder mystery where somebody gets shot at a race at the exact same time that the starting gun goes off, right? That has to be a thing. Bloody Wolf. How many times am I going to be in a car with you? And we were off, Aubrey. With the tiny floating steering wheel. It was just like racing down the narrow country lanes in Cornwall, except 10 times louder, deadlier, faster, and the Fraulein was brandishing her Mauser as though she'd fully intended to use it. Somehow it was just like Cornwall. If she ended up using it to stop Fisher, I wasn't going to complain. I screamed at her to put the blasted thing away. I told her to stop being silly. It's a bit theatrical. Just put that bloody thing away. But the elephant bellow of the engine ate up my words completely. Wolf was shouting something back at me, whatever it was. It probably wouldn't have helped. The car was shuddering beneath us as though every single part of the chassis wanted to fling itself in a different direction. Mostly, I was just trying not to die. I wasn't going to let Fisher get away. It's not often one ends up accidentally competing in a Grand Prix, Aubrey. If not, write it. Thing is, it's one of those things where you're like, it must exist, and if I write it thinking it doesn't exist, somebody's going to point it out after I've written it and say, you know, that's already been done, right? Thereby invalidating however much effort I put into making it. Or you write it in such a way that no one heard the gunshot, and it was a thing that, there was a gunshot. Oh, it must have happened at that moment when the starting pistol happened, but it actually turns out that they were shot with like a silence something or other, and that happened beforehand, and that gave the person who actually did it time to get away and have an alibi for the time that the gunshot happens, and they use that as an excuse, and it's a distraction. Always try and add one step of a removal from the obvious answer. Mostly I was trying not to die. I was not going to let him get away. So let's do our job. I'm not going to let him get away. Unfortunately, the race cars had formed a surprisingly orderly queue as we whizzed around the circuit. Fisher was leading the pack, and there were only a couple of cars between him and me. I recognised the one right in front of me, hogging the road. Timothy Sidhurst, the British driver. Oh, we've got some wibbly-wobblies going on here. What is this drawing? He's British. This is a British race car driver from the 1930s, don't you know? I'm just having a jolly old time in my car. Got ahead of him around the next turn. I dropped back, waiting patiently for an opening, or I stuck as closely behind the other car as I could. Got ahead of him around the next turn. But only for a moment. The very next corner curved left again, and Sidhurst was in the perfect position for it. He zoomed neatly ahead of us. We were stuck on a long stretch of straight road, inch by painful inch. I pulled alongside him. He was so close I could see the muscles squirming around his clenched jaw. I'm British, don't you know? At the next turn, I would have him. I swerved straight at him, hoping to make him flinch, or I was willing to burn rubber to get ahead. Next turn, I would have him. Let's be specific about this. As we approached a bend in the circuit, it was a long, lazy, sweeping turn, like a concrete river. Let Sidhurst take the inside line while I drifted to the outer edge. I swooped to the inside line. Let's get in the inside line. Boom. It was a matter of inches, Aubrey, I swear. Our cars were a coin's width apart, but I beat him to the punch. I whooped as we surged smoothly ahead. Don't think it's healthy if you see his muscles squirming. He might need to see a doctor. He might just have a twitch. It's fine. He's a British man in the 1930s. He is repressing a lot of stuff. But it wasn't time to celebrate yet, Aubrey. Zoom. If I win this, just one car left between me and Fisher. Ruprecht Camiso, the odds-on favourite. A sharp turn was coming up. Camiso had shifted to the far side of the road, leading an obvious path straight past him. Took the inside. I was going to undercut him. Suspecting a trap, I moved a little to the outside too. A little bit wily. After that turn came another, twisting sharply in the opposite direction. Headed straight for the inside line. I hedged my bets again, sticking to the outside road. I went around the outside edge, slow as molasses. Camiso switched to the inside, put his foot down and left me behind. I was waiting for a third one. I thought it was going to be the third one where you'd actually do it. A flash of silver in my mirror caught my eye. Apparently Sidhurst wasn't willing to give up so easily either. He was right behind us, smoothly pulling out to overtake. I wove back and forth, blocking him from getting ahead. There was nothing I could do, back to square one. No, swiggle. My tyres shrieked. Something in my car did an ominous clank, but Sidhurst was stymied. He fell back. The steward started waving red flags at me and gesturing me to pull over. I gave them a little wave as I passed by. Goodbye. It took a little bit of fancy driving, but I caught up with Camiso once again. Imagine this, Aubrey. A clear stretch of winding road. What? Clear stretch of winding... What? I can imagine we do all this in the race car. How are we not dead? Because we have practice. We are a secret agent. We have trained for this. That's the great thing about writing a secret agent character, is you can just insert the sentence, I have trained for this, for any skill. A clear stretch of winding road. My final obstacle before Fisher. A battle of wills. Camiso, I was coming to realise, wasn't reckless like Sidhurst. He drove like a Swiss clock. Perfect, precise. I waited for my chance. It's like duelling. You probe for the gap in their defences and then you strike like a viper. But Camiso was impenetrable. I should point out that at this point there is still a Nazi with a gun pointed at me in the car. You probe for the gap in their defences, then you strike like a viper. But Camiso was impenetrable. Every time I spotted a gap and got ready to zoom ahead, his car would suddenly be in front of mine. It was grueling, Aubrey. Every time I tried to overtake, he'd find some perfect angle and pull even further ahead. I snatched the gun out of Wolf's hand and just shot at his tyres. I'm the secret agent that needs a designated driver. Oh, hang on. Is that actually an option? Just shoot him. I urged Wolf. No. Following turn, I undercut him, trying to take the inside line. I swung wide and took the outside line. Maybe, because it feels like it could be something I wasn't expected. But even further ahead. What are you doing? But I had a plan. I only hope it could work. Did I? I had a plan. Do it again. Unfortunately, this just gave Camiso time to pull ahead. He suddenly had a comfortable lead over us once again. Speed! Sudden attack was expertly parried. Camiso had left us no room to get past, and I found myself weaving back and forth, completely blocked. Speed! Gonna crash into you. A sudden attack was expertly parried. Outside line. What are you doing? Speed! Expertly parried. Undercut. No luck. Speed! I have a feeling I have to use the gun here. How many times can I do this? Speed! Nope. Speed! Nope. Speed! Nope. Gonna have to use the gun, I'm afraid. Fraulein left a trio of bullet holes in the race car of a German driver, Ruprecht Camiso. 100 spectators saw it happen. It wasn't me, though. World's longest postcard. They keep saying the same thing. It's a fold-out postcard. It's just like concertinas with the word "speed" on it. Best idea you've had all day, said Wolf, closing one eye and cracking off a trio of shots. 3 neat bullet holes appeared in Camiso's windshield. He pulled over immediately, apparently unwilling to risk taking a bullet for the sake of the Grand Prix, as we roared past. The wonders of cheating, Aubrey. Amazing. Off we go! Drive. Hello, you. Caroline took a few pot shots of Fisher blowing open a clasp with a briefcase. He left a trail of scattered banknotes. For God's sake! Supposed to look after that money. Finally, we were closing in on Fisher. Wolf raised her Mauser. There were several sharp cracks and sparks flew as bullet holes dotted Fisher's car. I yelled once again to put it away, but of course she ignored me. Fisher was driving like a demon. I just tried not to lose him. Just keep it going. She's not going to listen. As Wolf struggled to reload her pistols, Fisher swung around the next bend, a hairpin turn. It was too sharp a turn. My best option was to stick to the outside. Play it safe, I guess. It was the right idea, but Fisher was pulling too far ahead for it to matter. We were just in time to see a flash of colour as his race car tail swung around the next curve, and then he was gone. Can't we just pull Wolf out of the car? That's what I wanted to do. Around the next corner, we came upon a scene of devastation. Fisher had smashed straight through a wooden barrier and vanished down a side road, going off track. Along the way, he'd apparently knocked over a race marshal. The poor man was lying in a pool of blood by the roadside. Screeched to a halt and run over to stop, dead as a doornail. Let's inspect. But he was beyond help. Police car turned the corner, lights flashing, bells jingling. Get us out of here, muttered Wolf, waving her gun. Losing the police was a moment's work. Stay cool, stay calm. After all, we were driving a race car. We left them in a cloud of smoke and emasculation. Haha. Fisher had taken the road that led straight out of Bern and into the surrounding mountains. He was already long gone. We've lost him, muttered Wolf. Pull over. She was right, I stopped the car. I kept driving, ignoring her. Behind us, Bern was erupting into a cacophony of ringing bells and wailing sirens. The police would be after us both now. Ahead, the mountains were grand and quiet. The only noise was the distant bellow of Fisher's engine, a taunting echo on the breeze. And so the story began. Swoosh. Oh, I have to go to the map. I wanted to swoosh. Ah, here we are. Oh, hey, I know these places. There's Interlaken and Meringen and the Grims and the Obergrums and the Silders. I don't remember those. But I remember the Interlaken. That's a thing. The Thun raced into the mountains. The mountains. Complication. The pandemonium of the Grand Prix had followed us. The peaceful mountain air was shattered by the noise of shrill whistles and clanging bells behind us. The Polizei were on our tail. Test of deviousness. Test of precision. I've been pretty devious. Success. The trouble was that though I was faster, they knew I was likely headed for Thun. They'd catch up eventually. So I turned off at the next crossroads and lost them in a maze of winding roads around the Mühldorf. Muckledorf. In the Muckledorf. Dearest Aubrey, the rain has finally died down, but the dark clouds still threatened overhead. There was only one route Fisher could be following, the long mountain road to Thun. This is something from Skyrim, isn't it? Occasionally we'd spot a race car's tyre tracks in the mud. The adrenaline from the Grand Prix still burned in my veins, or I attempted small talk with the Fraulein. I'm not gonna make friends with her. Let's go! Oh, now a liar. What? Why am I a liar? My knuckles were white on the wheel. Halfway to Thun, it became clear that the race car was rattling itself to pieces. The stress of the Grand Prix had been hard on it. Why am I a liar? Did I not do this? I thought I got to choose what I was doing. It was no good, we'd have to stop at Thun. Made quite the impression in Thun, onlookers gathered to watch you arrive in the race car that was falling apart. I don't have adrenaline, apparently. It was a beautiful little sliver of a town. Not Silver, that's Kira. Perched between a glittering lake and a backdrop of storybook mountains. By the time we pulled up outside an auto mechanic, that's like a normal mechanic, but you just put a coin in and it goes. The race car was in its death throes. The slightest bump in the road was met with an unpleasant, grating clank. Curtains twitched in the surrounding windows. A gaggle of curious onlookers congregated, muttering and pointing at our battered car. But we're not being very inconspicuous, are we? The police are searching for me. Hey. Chaos at the Grand Prix. A pair of madwomen stole a car and joined the race. They chased Kurt Fischer off the course entirely, causing him to run down a marshal. Worst of all, I had money riding on Fischer. Franks fluttering on the breeze after the race was cancelled. Spectators spilled onto the track and tried to grab as much as they could. We cleared them off. At least it provides a nice breadcrumb trail for us to follow. Thorn is afire with gossip. Apparently half the town has watched a battered race car on its last legs, well, wheels, limped into the auto mechanic's garage. I wonder if the treatment of that poor machine... I wonder after the treatment... No wonder after the treatment that poor machine was put through. Third time's a charm. Thun. Or is it pronounced thun? The end of the road. Oh no, that's not a good sign. There was a lot of Polizei stamps. I think in every location in the previous game we got at most 2. And that was 4. How could we avoid the money thing? I don't even remember giving him the briefcase. Oh no, I guess he grabbed it when he ran out. After I threw the thing at her head. Well, benzene, petrol station. Uffs. The mechanic was a broad man whose every movement was deliberate. He assessed what remained of the car, wiping his hands solemnly on a rag. "That's a race car," he observed finally. I had no intention of repairing the car, of course. The race car was a liability. I told the mechanic he could keep it, and Wolf and I walked away without another word. I led the Fraulein down a side street, hoping to escape the prying eyes of the townfolk. Herr Fischer must have come through soon, she said. Perhaps someone spotted him. I told her not to worry. I knew exactly where Fischer was headed. I was a step ahead of her, of course, but I kept that to myself. Wolf made a fool of herself in Thun. Wolf! Stop it! I went and had a nice cup of coffee while Wolf ran around conducting random interrogations. It was the perfect time to give her the slip. I slipped away when her back was turned and stole a motorbike from the side of the road, hot-wired in 20 seconds flat. We're very good at hot-wiring things. Told her not to worry, we're not allies. Thun was soon just a smudge in the rearview mirror. My newly acquired motorcycle was an unwieldy beast, 20 years old and slow as an ox. Slower, perhaps. It's all in the inflection, you see. If it had been an ox, it would have already been put out of its misery. As I puttered away from Thun, I heard a familiar roar of a race car behind me. Yeah, that probably makes sense. There was no outpacing her, Aubrey. Even in its near-death state, the race car was faster than my hopeless bike. Wolf swerved in front of me, bringing me to an abrupt halt. She opened the door with a reproachful smile. "You've forgotten me, Fraulein Taylor." Can't blame me for trying. She put a hand on her Mauser. Officer back, Fraulein Taylor. I had no choice, Aubrey. And how does she know my name? How do I know her name? We haven't met. Why does Wolf conducting interviews mean trouble for us? I don't know. I assumed that we're going to be together for a while, and as a consequence, anything one of us does is going to draw attention to all of us, which made me suspicious of the whole motorbike thing trying to get away, because if that hypothesis holds true, it wouldn't have worked. But I gave it a go anyway. It was the logical thing to do. I had no choice, Aubrey. I dismounted and let my stolen motorcycle fall to the road. Wolf nodded approvingly. Now, let's get in. Long drive ahead. Yeah. Well, that was a nice stop in Thun. To Interlaken. The engine of the race car bellowed as we sped down to Interlaken. I wonder why it's called that. A complication. A glimmering lake on one side, breathtaking mountains on the other. But the Fraulein was in no mood to appreciate it. Faster, she insisted, waving her gun, though I was going too fast already. Test of appeasement. Test of conviction. Conviction. Success! I told her that if we went any faster, we'd end up killing ourselves. Or someone else. She seemed to realize the truth of my words. She put the gun away, at least. Our car's still broken. I mean, it's breaking. You hurtle through the Swiss villages in your race car, engine roar echoing off the mountains. The police will have no problem tracking you. Great. We were a flash of bullet-shaped crimson devouring the miles. The picturesque mountains swept past too quickly to appreciate. What a way to travel. We turned heads at every single village. Since we left Thun, I've been turning over ways to disarm Wolf. turn heads. I mean, that's what we are doing. It was painful. The police would have no doubt that we were going to Interlaken. I was already planning how best to foil the Fraulein's schemes. Foil. Must foil the Fraulein. That sounds like a part of a recipe. First, foil your Fraulein. Pierce the foil so that steam doesn't build up, and put it in the oven for 30 minutes on high. Guess the magical mechanic fixed it in 20 seconds flat? Who knows? I needed to get hold of these coordinates. Coordinates of the German bases, I guess? If I remember correct? Or the place he's going to be picked up to go to Moscow? Dunno. Easier said than done, Aubrey. When we arrived in town, it was hard to avoid noticing the seaplane. It stuck out immediately among the quaint little yachts. The engine of the race car bellowed as we sped down to Interlaken. The police are searching for me, and they're probably going to find me. The two suspects lingered in Thun for longer than they should. I left as soon as I possibly could. The German blonde whizzed around asking about Kurt Fischer. The hunt is on. Maybe if I save his life, Fischer will give me his autograph. It's easy enough to follow the race car's trail. Every village they'd gone through was still mad with excitement about it. You don't often get cars like that on backwater roads. Well, here's hoping I don't do anything else to attract the attention of the police. You've been watching this for an hour and you still have no idea what's going on. Okay, so the race car driver has information we want and gambling debts. We came here to say, hey, look, we're here on behalf of the British government. We're going to give you lots of money to pay off the gambling debts if you give us the information about all the German stuff, you know. Turns out the Russians had already bought him out and he just wanted our money. And he was gonna work his way to Russia after the race because he's a famous race car driver and he's like, one last race for old time's sake. Nazi's not happy about this whole giving away information thing, so she's come to track him down and kill him or whatever. And inexplicably we're both after him, but for different reasons, so we're sort of here together to chase him down. He's an idiot. He's an absolute idiot, absolutely. I think the game has explicitly mentioned that he is an idiot. And a womanizer and a cheat and a scoundrel. He's lots of things. He's not a nice person. Steal the plane. This was it. The seaplane Fisher was hoping would save his skin. This is the one. He wouldn't be escaping if I could help it, Aubrey. I needed those documents. Hired a motorboat using a few hundred francs from the briefcase. Wolf commandeered the rowboat at the pier. I persuaded a fisherman to lend us his rowboat for free. I'm always... The way this works, this game works, is the narrative is supposed to be quite... sort of... It's supposed to flow. The thing that is said in the prompt is part of the story. So when it says, I persuaded a fisherman to lend us his rowboat, rather than I attempted to persuade a fisherman to lend us his rowboat, makes me think this is at least a success. I don't want to use the briefcase. Also, hang on, how do Mobo use a few hundred francs from the brief? Oh, I guess he has his own briefcase, the Russian one, right? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. He's got the Russian briefcase full of money. I've got the British briefcase full of money. Oh dear. I'll persuade the fisherman. I rode while Wolf trained her gun on me. It did tricks. It could sit down. It could lay on its back. It could roll its barrel. So many briefcases. Stop putting money in briefcases. This is a spy story. At least 50% of it has to involve briefcases full of money. I was getting tired of this dynamic, to tell the truth. She waited in the boat while I climbed up and tested the door. Locked. Pick the lock in a matter of moments. Shoot the lock, Fraulein. At a loss, I knocked. Pick it. I'm good at picking. Inside, I found myself staring at the back of a bald head. A large man sat in the pilot's seat reading a book. Plonked him over the head with a fire extinguisher. I called for the Fraulein to come up and take care of him. Sure, I'm not doing anything. The pilot whipped around and shouted something in Russian. He advanced, his fists raised, a vein in his forehead throbbing. He was easily a head taller than I, Aubrey, and 3 times the weight. He looked fully prepared to wring my neck. Fortunately, that's when he noticed Wolf and her pistol. In a matter of moments, we'd trussed up the pilot like a Christmas turkey. I slapped him. What do you know about Kurt Fischer? He probably just speaks Russian, to be honest. He's not going to tell me anything. Gave the pilot my oiliest smile. Perhaps we can come to an agreement. I searched his pockets. That's going to be the most sensible thing. Aha! A Russian passport. The name's man... The name's man was Dimitri. I slapped him. What do you know about Kurt Fisher? Oiliest smile. I left the pilot alone and joined Wolf in searching the rest of the plane. The name's man. James Mann. The name's Mann. Jean Eric Mann. He probably speaks Russian. I'm not expecting anything out of these. Let's try and be sneaky. Spat on the floor and muttered something in a foreign language. Sounded Russian. Well, he's not going to say anything, is he? Just leave him alone. She'd already dug through the cargo, finding nothing but tinned food and cigarettes. I searched the pockets of a coat hung near the door. Through the pile of documents on the passenger seat. That one always makes me laugh. I don't know what it is about it. It's just the absurdity of it. I think it's the word bondulance. I think. For anyone who wants reference to this, it's in the Discord stream chat thing. Bondulance is a great word. I'm sure if you know the joke, bondulance is enough to remind you what it is. I feel like the documents, probably? Or the pocket. In the pocket, I might be able to find a gun. But the documents might be more important. The documents I want belong to Fisher, so I might as well... I'm probably not going to find anything, right? We know where they're going. What could possibly... What could I learn? Nothing, I guess. Search the pockets of a coat. I found a note, Aubrey. On it was the address of a nearby hotel and a room number. 204. No doubt that's where I could find Fisher. I crumpled it into my pocket. Wolf hadn't noticed my discovery. I kept it to myself. Flipped through a pile of documents on the passenger seat. I get to do both. Some were in Russian. Some were in a kind of cipher. Both equally incomprehensible. Then I found more damning evidence. A photograph of Fisher. That was all I found, enough to confirm what I already knew. Fisher had always been a Russian asset, and now they were here to collect him. Fisher was in bed with the Soviets. Wolf sounded shocked. Betraying us to the British was bad enough, but to communists? She began shooting indiscriminately at the plane's controls. Oh, for God's sake. Bloody Wolf. I kind of want to get arrested at this point, just so I know that she managed to sabotage herself so that the next game can't happen. Or the previous game can't happen. I want you to be in prison for the start of the previous game. When she was finished, the panels were a wreck, the air filled with smoke. Let's find Fisher, said Wolf grimly. Look, climbing down into our boat. The pilot's coming with us. I left the pilot tied up in his seat, choking on smoke. I don't want him to die. I don't know. I don't know what he's done. He's just a pilot. Yeah, I don't want him to die. Oh, great. You tied up the seaplane's pilot, depositing him in the rowboat at the port. He'll be discovered and freed by the Bloods. It's better than leaving him to die, surely. I think I probably just failed the game. But... Wolf refused to help haul him onto the dock, so I left the big fellow tied up in the boat and we resumed our hunt for Fisher. Yes. You and Fraulein spoke to the concierge. They really ramped up the difficulty for this one. Bledsoe's already looking for us, whatever. I know, but I think if you have enough of these red stamps, you get caught. It was clear enough that we could find Fisher. His race car was parked outside Interlaken's biggest hotel. Wolf strode up to the concierge, carefully applying a smile. We're such fans of Herr Fisher. Which room is he in? Worked like a charm, of course. Told Wolf not to bother. I knew where they were. I slipped away while Wolf was engrossed in her performance. Thank heaven I found that note. I was hoping Wolf would be stuck wheedling the concierge for quite a while, Aubrey. I paused at the door to eavesdrop. The room's occupants were having an argument. I recognized Fisher's voice, raised in anger. You need me. Without the cipher key, these documents are useless. Russian accent. Or Comrade Fisher. I don't know. I can't do accent. Comrade Fisher, you would... What is a Russian accent? I don't know what a Russian accent is. You do not want to come to Russia. Comrade Fisher, you do not want to come to Russia. Second voice was male, calm. Its accent was unplaceable. That's exactly what I want. Thank you, game. Its accent was unplaceable. Switzerland is better for you. If I were Fisher, I'd not trust that voice one bit. Wondered how honest Fisher had been with the Russians. In his shoes, I'd have kept the details to myself. We have a safe house in the forest near Obrugams, said the strangely accented voice. Here, circled on the map. A pause, the glug-glug of some expensive spirit. It was the ghost of a mare. Here's the key. Not take it, I insist. We'll hide you in the mountains until the storm with the British spy blows over. Inexplicable accent. Thank you, game. I continued listening at the door. Heard quite enough, I burst into the room. Keep listening. Yeah, I thought that was going to happen. But I delayed too long. Wolf was marching down the corridor, her gun trained at me. You had anything interesting, Fraulein Taylor? She asked. On second thoughts, tell me later. First things first. She kicked open the door and shot Fisher in the chest. I mean... don't know what I expected, really. I screamed. I gasped. I raised an eyebrow. Gasped. Bang! One bullet in the heart, Aubrey. Fisher flopped back into his armchair like a stunned trout, his whiskey soaking the carpet. Deaths to traitors, said Wolf triumphantly. Sorry. Deaths to traitors! She turned to me and the Russian spy. Against the wall, both of you. Took a chance to reassess my Russian competition. Raised my hand slowly, mind racing. Took the chance to assess my Russian competition. He of the mysterious accent. Oh, hello. Perfectly normal-looking fellow, which I suppose made him an excellent spy. His only distinguishing feature was a pair of gold-framed round spectacles. He had a manila folder in his hand, Fisher's stolen coordinates, I suspected. Wolf smiled sadly. You lost, Fraulein Taylor. Accept your death with dignity. My witty retort died on my lips, because at that moment, my muscles tensed, ready to make for the window. But suddenly, I was getting ready to accept my death with dignity. When... dignity. Behind Wolf, Fisher's corpse twitched. I guess that was going to happen with the... Literally, this image was the image for the chapter. So, well, actually, I guess that was what was going to happen when she said that he shot him in the heart. And I was like, I expected her to shoot him in the face. That makes sense. Moved its arm, slowly removed a pair of goggles from its breast pocket. This was also telegraphed when he said, these goggle things, they're not going to save a man's life, are they? Lost for words? Asked Wolf. Oh, sorry. Lost for words? Asked Wolf, unaware of the pantomime unfolding behind her. Fisher stared at the cracked goggles in befuddled wonder. A bullet was lodged in the lens. Put on my best poker face. She hadn't noticed, Aubrey. Put on my best poker face. What is your name? Asked the Fraulein, pointing her gun at the Russian. In Switzerland, Oscar. The Russian kept his voice level. Sure. Staring over her shoulder. Behind her, a miraculously living Fisher slowly raised a paperweight. Had to keep her talking, Aubrey. Keep her talking. At any moment, she could notice the creaking floorboard, or Fisher's shadow on the wall in front of her. You'll never get away with this, Wolf. Night, night, Fraulein. You'll never get away with this, Wolf. She turned to me, smiling. Oh, but I already... The rest of her answer was abruptly cut off. The crack of the weight hitting her skull made me wince. This is the second time this has happened. Her head is very tender over the course of these 2 years. She toppled wonderfully, like a felled tree. Fisher bent down and picked up the unconscious Wolf's gun. He pointed it at the Russian and I. What was his accent? Right, he said, looking a little surprised to be alive. Annie, please hand over the briefcase. Oscar, keep your hands in the air. Oscar and I did as instructed. I can't believe I carted that briefcase all the way from Bird only to lose it now. Oh yeah, Kurt Fisher has acquired the money-stuffed briefcase. Fisher backed out of the room, gun raised. He slammed the door and locked it behind him. I heard running footsteps as he fled down the corridor. It's not very good to have a hotel where you can lock the door from the outside. She keeps standing up, so clearly her skull is stronger than most. She is the Winter Soldier after all. I forgot about that, yeah. It didn't take long to break down the door. I picked the lock. I'm very good at picking locks. In real life, I'm not very good at picking locks. Certainly not with a hairpin. Oscar watched my efforts with interest. It seems to have been chasing... Sorry. Is there been chasing... He's drunk. Shame we couldn't meet under better circumstances, comrades. My name's Ellie Taylor. I've already met the Fraulein. It's a shame we couldn't meet under better circumstances. I would like to have been sober. Outside, we heard the roar of a powerful engine. I watched it from the window as Fisher's race car peeled out onto the road once again. He was well and truly gone, Aubrey. I glanced down at the manila folder in Oscar's hand. Fisher's infamous documents, Aubrey. I was sure of it. Oscar took one look at me and then turned and fled. I heard his footsteps rapidly retreating down the hotel corridor. I chased him. His voice was so adjective. I hadn't pursued Fisher across half of Switzerland just to lose that file to the Russians. Well then. Splash. Oscar sped across the lake in a motorboat. I followed, commandeering a boat of my own, with a very similar steering wheel to the car. Even at a distance, a column of smoke from the seaplane was visible. You've acquired the secret coordinates. Aha. I could clearly see the moment Oscar realized his hopes of escape were unfounded. His shoulders slumped. When I stopped at the seaplane, I found him on one of the floats, smoking a cigarette. The spoils. He handed me the manila folder. Could have just thrown it into the lake. Why help me? An enemy of the enemy, probably. You know, it's always a pleasure to befriend a colleague, Aubrey. Oscar blew a smoke ring. Comrade Fisher has caused both a great deal of trouble. I suspect enough at my cabin. Good luck hatching them. Race car, motorboat, same thing. You know, they've both got motors. They're identical. I wished him good luck in return. I don't know where it is. Do I know where it is? It was circled on a map, but I don't remember seeing a map. Is it in with the documents in the folder? I'll ask him, what are you going to do now? Wash my hands of the entire affair, have some coffee, sober up a bit. Return to Russia, send swavel masters. Why are you so sure I'll keep chasing fish? Wish him good luck. Have a good time. I found Wolf waiting for me back on the shore. A little dazed, the gash above her ear was trickling blood. Blah, blah. Oscar gave me the coordinates. The Russian destroyed the documents rather than give them to me. Surprisingly, she took that at face value. No doubt she was still a little concussed. Goodbye, Fraulein. My tone was firm. Despite my best attempts to shake her, she followed me down the street. Wolf is nothing if not persistent. You and I end this together, Fraulein Taylor. At least until we catch our quarry. Why didn't I just go to a different place with the boat? I didn't have to go back to where I started. I laughed in her face. I gave her the slip. I gave Wolf no sign that I was preparing my escape. I put her at ease, speculating about Fisher's eventual destination. Finally, my moment came. The Fraulein had paused at a news booth to scan the latest headlines. I took advantage of her distraction and slipped among a flock of passing nuns. Flock of nuns. I didn't know that was the collective noun. Leaped over a fence and dashed through a dozen Swiss gardens. Jumped into the passenger seat of a nearby car and yelled at the driver to step on it. He probably wouldn't. Nope. The police have discovered your abandoned race car and put it under covert surveillance. Luckily you weren't caught, but they know you're nearby. They carried me almost all the way to the local church before I vanished down a side alley. An hour passed before I let myself believe I'd successfully lost her. Which of us will find Fisher first, I wondered. Ooh, almost a tongue twister. When I returned to the race car, I found it under surveillance by a team of police. I turned about face and walked quickly in the opposite direction. They were trying to be inconspicuous, bless them. Bless, they're trying. You know, boats, only gas and reverse. Why does this game keep setting us up to become like allies with Wolf? I don't know. They love the dynamic of, like, unwitting, like, two people who hate each other having to do the same thing and thus forcing themselves upon each other constantly. That's the dynamic they want from their spy thriller, I guess. But a few were doing the old hide behind the newspaper trick. Not subtle at all, which raised the question, Aubrey. What now? I don't know. That would be a great time to stop the stream, but we've got another 20 minutes. So, I should read slower, I guess. Get that, but it keeps happening so unnaturally. It does, yeah. I don't know. It is hard to write... Like, bear in mind, we are following a story, right? But there are loads of ways this story can branch. So, it's hard to make them join without it feeling a bit weird. Like the fact that we've still never been introduced to Fraulein Wolf. I don't know how we know her name. Stuff like that can sort of crop up without you realizing. You know, if there are like 8 branching paths for a particular scene, you know, that's not 8 stories you have to keep track of. That's like 2 to the power of 8, which is whatever 2 to the power of 4 to the 4. 16 squared is 256 different possible iterations of things that are happening. It's tricky. It's tricky to rock and run. And complication. I assume Oscar had reason to drive this 3-wheeler van. Speaking of which... But I had trouble climbing uphill. I was halfway up a steep incline, foot jammed on the accelerator, when I realised we weren't moving. Test of stubbornness or calculation. I don't think I've done either of these very much. I think I've done more Chibi than I have Snowflake. So, do Chibi. Success! Yay, Chib! Chib never lets down. I kept my foot clamped down, gritted my teeth and inched us up through the sheer bloody-mindedness. The van coughed and complained, but we made it up intact. I resolved to ditch the van at the earliest opportunity. You am a success! Yay! Chib am success. Postcard? Yeah. I drove away from Interlaken, contemplating my next move. The hills were on one side of me, the lake on the other. A beautifully serene landscape. The only sound was the growling echo of my engine. As the hills rolled past, I realised I was rapidly approaching a fork in the road. Fisher was a man on the run. Either he'd gone north to Zurich, hoping to catch the next plane to God knows where, or he drove south, to hide out in Oscar Schacker's secret cabin. Fisher was the Bergkönig, the king of the mountain. He was. Fisher was a reckless and short-sighted, but he wasn't an idiot. Well, the thing you have to remember, Aubrey, is that Fisher is an idiot. Yep. Oscar had told him to go south and hide, so he'd go south and hide. As simple as that. There wasn't much going on inside that grinning, handsome head. I made the decision. I drove south. When are we going to get caught by the police? Considering you got so many stamps with the Fraulein, I think that happens now. There we are. Police are searching for me. Gunshots echoed across the Interlaken from the seaplane. Tried to track down the plane's owner, but all the paperwork was expertly forged, and the name of the men who don't exist is well above my pay grade. Coming into Interlaken for our suspects, we discovered a tied-up man in the rowboat. He mumbled something in the saddle. I rushed, as if English Jones was mad enough, sent him to Officer Zurich for interrogation. 2 suspects were arrested, the officials had several numbers of I didn't do anything, I left. Concierge seemed oddly love-struck by the German woman, even after I told him he was a dangerous car thief. But the suspects were this car, and Interlaken with several surveillance team to catch them when they came back. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. At least we know this car anymore. That's more than this thing even had, more stamps than the thing even had to keep track of. Swiss police have caught up with me. You'll have to elude them or face being caught. Drama. Meiringen. I thought I was a mammoth then. Look, it's got like a sort of brow and there's the trunk. And... Hi. I don't know what the police thing's about. No harm in stopping to make sure my guess was correct, Aubrey. The concierge looked me up and down, unimpressed. Politely asked, I'm looking for my brother. Tall fellow, handsome, drives the dress car. Concierge sighed as though he dealt with plenty of ongoing car chases, and it had all become a terrible chore. I'm very busy, madame. I don't know how I resisted the urge to leap across the counter and grab him by the lapels. It was time for a charm offensive. I'm charming, don't you know? I smiled vacuously. Ah! Flattered him outrageously. Oh, you! And soon he was falling over himself to try and impress me. A man driving a race car stopped here for a glass of whiskey, he said. Then he drove off again, right through a flock of geese. Caused a bit of a mess. Oh, where was she headed? I asked. South for Grimsel Pass. The concierge shook his head. But I wouldn't fancy driving a car like that on those mountain roads. I stopped at the bar for a quick drink before I left. Nope, gotta leave. Police are after me. I mingled. Nope. To Grimsel Pass. Chat later, Aubrey. Onward. Angry face. No letting the police catch me. We need to just leave. Wibbly wobbly, windy roads. Let's go. Boom. And complication. Grimsel Pass's fearsome reputation, should there be an S after that? Was well earned. It was a treacherous stretch of road. I came to a bend far too fast and realized I was about to go careening into the abyss. Test of courage. Or snowflakes. Courage, probably. Success! No choice, Aubrey, but to commit to it. I leant hard into the turn and skidded around the bend like an Olympian in a bobsleigh. My wheel missed the perilous drop by a whisker. After that, I slowed down. Turns out, near-death experiences make you slow down when driving. Grimsel Pass was a devilish little road, Aubrey, winding like a snake in the Sahara. As I navigated the treacherous mountain curves, the sun dipped on the horizon. Soon it would be too dark to drive. I concentrated on the bends, because I've been diving, you see. Or I found myself whistling cheerfully. Let's concentrate. A hair too fast and I'd end up smashed like a snail on the rocks below. Like a schnailman. Something down on the slope caught my eye. Smoke, a gleam of metal. Pulled over. Grimsel Pass was an impossible, magnificent road. No driver could have hoped to conquer it at its speed, and evidently one hadn't. A smoking wreck lay below one of the formidable hairpin turns. Crumpled blue metal, mangled tires. It was unmistakable. The twisted remnants of Fisher's car. They missed a bit of the path there. It's nice to know how they did that, though. I've been wondering how they did that trailing blue thing going through. I know how they did it now. You made one fatal mistake. Oh dear. I thought it was blue. I would have ended up smashed like a schnailman. I'm not just drunk. Whoa. That was impressive. From the road, I couldn't see Fisher's body amongst the wreckage, nor could I see the briefcase. I needed to get a closer look, Aubrey. I half slid, half clambered down. By the time I reached the bottom, my hands were black with mud. Waving away smoke, I approached the crashed car. No briefcase, no body. I searched the footwell. Gotta be thorough. Someone had weighed down the accelerator with a brick! A trap, Aubrey! I caught a glint out of the corner of my eye. Looking up, I saw a silhouetted figure at the top of the slope, holding something long and bulky. It was no, it wasn't. Then I saw the glint again. Sunlight catching a scope. A rifle! Aimed straight at me. My first thought was the Russians. Would it be Fisher? It was clearly a male silhouette, but I could sense the Fraulein's hand in this. Why would it be the Russians? The Russians don't care. It's almost certainly the Fraulein. I didn't have much chance to think through the implications. The rifle cracked, echoing across the mountains. A bullet knocked a chip out of a nearby rock. I dived for cover behind a helpful boulder. Thank you, boulder. Silence settled over the mountains. It was time to play the waiting game. The sun dipped over the horizon. Oh, look at you. Look at you. Sun dipped over the horizon. I sat back against the rock, still and silent as a lizard in the sun. Eventually I heard footsteps. My would-be assailant was approaching. He came sliding down the slope, no longer silhouetted against the afternoon sun. I could see that he was a big lad in his early 20s. Heavy-set, gap-toothed, practical clothes. His rifle was a Swiss K31, military issue. Not a drop of malice in his eyes. He seemed nice. A big man, but he looked like the type to break up fights rather than start them. He could do it with his chin alone. He came to stop a dozen yards uphill. "I'm Rolf," he said. "I was told you had a gun, but if that were true, you would have used it by now." An awkward pause. "Maybe come out from behind that rock?" "No thank you, I'll stay here until you put the rifle away." He stood awkwardly for a moment, then slung the rifle behind his back. I emerged from my cover, brushing off my dress. I'm Annie Tabor, adventurer, spy, and bon vivant. Care to explain the gun? I imagine you were waiting here to ambush me? Well, he had the decency to look embarrassed. Herr Fisher told me he was being chased by a pair of murderous anarchists. He said they wanted to assassinate him and poison the water supply. What? Seems a little explicit. You look like a douchebag. We dropped on your head as a boy, Rolf. A spectrum of European political extremism to choose from, and he blamed the anarchists. He looked affronted. "Are you denying it, then?" I groaned. "There are no anarchists. He made it up so you'd shoot me, or at least delay me a little." "Prove it." Rolf crossed his arms. With a sigh, I explained the situation in as much detail as I could. "Have you listened to the news today?" When he shook his head, I gave him a sympathetic smile. "Fisher ran over a marshal at the Grand Prix. He's a wanted man." "I don't believe you," said Rolf, though he sounded uncertain. With a sigh, I explained the situation in as much detail as I could. "I'm so confused," he said when I finished. "I don't know who to believe." Do I look like a liar? That convinced him. Do I look like a liar? I kind of do. Oh, let's go back to my truck. I'm afraid I slashed your tyres. Now the sun's going down. Do you need a place to stay? I'd appreciate a bed for the night, Rolf. The oaf hadn't left me much choice. He trusts me. "It's the least I can do," said Rolf as we climbed. "Herr Fisher offered me 5,000 francs to wait here and ambush you." Did you take it? I ignored him. For that kind of money, Rolf, he was expecting you to murder me. Did you take it? Ruff, ruff, ruff. "Of course I did," Rolf smiled. "It's a dog!" "It's a lot of money." As we approached I don't care what you just said, Rolf. As we approached Rolf's truck, a big furry shake bounded from the passenger seat. It jumped and slobbered lovingly all over my coat. "Joe Marty!" shouted Rolf. "Sorry about him." "I pet the dog." They put this in there explicitly so that you could pet the dog. I don't know. I don't care what the other option is. I pet the dog. Oh dear. It whined in pleasure and nuzzled my hand. "I'll drive," I said chirpily, climbing behind the wheel of Rolf's truck. He opened his mouth as though to object and then slumped into feet. "Oh, that's fine," he said. As I put the truck in gear, Marty laid his head lovingly on my lap. I had made at least one friend in Switzerland, Aubrey, and it was the best. Off we go. To Obergums. Rolf's truck smelled of wet dog and whiskey, but it had a dog in it, so it didn't matter. The truck rattled down the road. Marty stuck his head out the window, tongue flapping. Rolf's attempts to make conversation were limited to occasional remarks about a passing bird. So Fisher crashed his own car? Won 5,000 francs back, by the way. That suited me just fine. Yeah, so he crashed his own car, did he? Rolf nodded. Said he needed to get rid of it. I asked if Fisher had found another vehicle, but Rolf just shrugged. I don't know. I don't want to antagonise him. He seems nice. As darkness fell, I focused on the road ahead. Past the time I asked him about his rifle, it might be useful. I don't know. Do I want a combative? What's your rifle? Finally, it's something we could discuss. We spent the journey debating the merits of the straight pull bolt action system. By the time we pulled up outside Rolf's lodge, night had fallen. The truck's headlights cut a pale arc through the fathomless darkness of the Swiss countryside. Marty lay on Rolf's lap, dozing fitfully. "Wake up, boy," murmured Rolf, giving his dog a scratch behind the ears. "We're here." In Obergums. Obergum! Bouquin. Chaos at Grand Prix. Fisher on the run. The Swiss Grand Prix was left in shambles after a pair of gun-wielding women stole a race car from Italian millionaire Cornelio Fanucci. Fanucci claimed that he had met one of the thieves at the pre-Grand Prix party and has accused his competitors of sending them to sabotage his chances. Although the race was ultimately won by the bookie's favourite Ruprecht Camiso, this achievement was overshadowed by the antics of his notorious countryman Kurt Fischer, who jumped the gun and was disqualified. As he exited the circuit, Fischer knocked over a marshal, who passed away at the scene. Police have issued a warrant for Fischer's arrest. And mine. Can I pet the dog some more, please? Rolf's Lodge was a sturdy wooden building with a pair of antlers above the door. Inside, the place was crammed with ghastly hunting trophies. Turned on the radio. His drinks cabinet was groaning under the weight of its cargo. I rubbed Marty's belly, gave him treats. Dog! He was a particularly well-tempered specimen, Aubrey. He begged and smiled and turned in excited circles. You, alright, nothing is going to happen to you, alright? I don't care what the game says. Headcanon, you're going to be alright. Guess we can be nice. Drinks cabinet. With Rob's permission, I poured myself a little brandy. He followed suit. Turned on the radio, ignoring social niceties. Guess I could turn on the radio, why not? Jazz! For the first time all day, I relaxed. And then I went to bed. A dragon's horde could not have tempted me out of that nice warm bed. Slept. Push. Dawn now, Aubrey. Endless rain is hammering down outside. As I write, Rolf is snoring loud enough to shake the floor. Meanwhile, I'm sitting in here, lost in thought. I had a horrible dream. The Child-Eater statue, see, I told you, I wasn't making it up, from Kornhausplatz, had come to life and was stalking me across a silent, empty Paris. Sometimes it had Wolf's face. Sometimes Fisher's. Sometimes my old maths teacher. Sometimes both at once, mingled, screaming, gnawing at each other. I tried to bargain for my life. But it ate all the children and demanded more. I woke with a knot of tremendous guilt in my stomach. I don't even know why I'm telling you this, Aubrey. Forget about it. I could have just erased this. It's fine. I'm going to try and rouse Rolf. Fisher wasn't that scary, though. He did have a gun, and he did point it at me briefly. And then stole my stuff. I think it's just general anxiety turning into a dream. Time to go. Thank you, Rolf. Look after the dog. Give them many treats. Oh, we piloted Rolf's truck. Oh, we're going with Rolf. Rolf! We drove as far as the truck would take us. When we reached the forested lower slopes of the Seidelhorn, we climbed out and hiked. Rolf lent me a raincoat. We walked, hunched against the downpour, boots squelching in the sodden ground. Dark clouds swirled around distant peaks. Marty ran in circles around us, barking. I didn't want you to know. Forget it. Which means I didn't want you to know. Otherwise, I would have crossed it out. Rolf proved to be excellent at imitating birdsong, or I strode ahead of Rolf throwing sticks for Marty. Play with dog. At last we reached it, a delightful little cabin hidden amongst the trees. The door was locked. No smoke from the chimney. Rolf knocked politely. No answer. One more outing for the old hairpin. Not even looking at the other things. Picked the lock in a few seconds. Rolf gasped like I performed a magic trick. What the hell are you doing here? Inside we found a familiar figure. Sitting at the table, smoking a cigarette. Not Fisher. Wolf. Heaven knows how she got into the cabin before us, Aubrey. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of asking. That's a great writing tool. You took your time, said the Fraulein coolly. She took a drag of smoke. Fisher isn't here. I've searched high and low. Get out of here, Fraulein, before we throw you out. Wolf, Rolf, Rolf, Wolf, Rolf, 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 Rolf. If Fisher hasn't reached here by now, maybe he isn't coming. Maybe not. He'll be here, said the Fraulein angrily. It just doesn't make sense otherwise. Where else would he have been heading? I'll go chop wood for the fire, said Rolf, taking a hatchet from the wall. We settled down to wait for Fisher to arrive. Rolf. Well then. Seidelhorn. Oh, that's nice. Less nice. The hours trickled past. The rain didn't let up. We waited all day in the cabin. I was sincerely starting to believe that Fisher had somehow doubled back to Zurich. We need to get going, said Rolf eventually. He was sat by the crackling fireplace, warming his hands. It's getting dark. No, snapped the Fraulein. We will wait here and all night if we have to. For once, Fraulein and I were in agreement. Give up, Fraulein. Fischer's bamboozled us. Rolf is right, we can't stay here. You do one chore and you miss Doggo. Doggo might crop up again. Rolf's right, we can't stay here. Thank you, Annie, said Rolf. I'm not going anywhere. The Fraulein folded her arms. Fine by me. Bye. Oh. She despises me. Good. I despise her. Wolf actually looked surprised. Rolf and I walked out together, Marty at our heels, leaving her to shiver in the cabin alone. We'd been hiking for perhaps 10 minutes when we heard the unmistakable sound. A gunshot. Distant, somewhere in the woods. Probably just a hunter. No issues. It never would have been mentioned. Hello, how you doing? Rolf nodded and we continued hiking. After a while, the Fraulein rushed past us, heading towards the gunshot like a cannonball. With a sigh, I followed. Marty rushed ahead, nose to the ground. There's a pup! There's a dog! Good dog. You are gonna be fine. Don't you worry, okay? Gonna be fine. To question mark. My favourite Swiss town. We followed closely as Marty crashed through the undergrowth. Ooh, something happens. Barf. The trees petered out. Marty bounded up to the edge of a steep incline and barked furiously into the darkness. Rolf, the Fraulein, and I peered down the slope. Where the bottom was a dwindling flicker of flame, tended by a huddled silhouette. Has to be him. The situation required careful handling. Being shot is an occupational hazard for the likes of us, but it wasn't something that I wanted to add to my resume. Marty stopped barking and began a rumbling growl. The figure by the fire stood up and turned to face us. There he was, Aubrey, his face half lit, the king of the mountain. There's a good sniffer. Good. Mad papa. The middle of nowhere. And that's probably a good place to stop. What could possibly happen? Who knows? I don't. We're going to find out on Saturday. I say we're going to find out on Saturday. I know some of you are having RPG times. That's probably bad. But hey, I like cliffhangers. Really going to leave us hanging like that? Yeah. It's fun. Look, I've got to give you a reason to come back and or watch the VOD or whatever. So, yeah. You've lost your Marty privileges. Oh, no. Yeah, thanks for coming along. Hope you had a nice time. Hope this story is good. I'm glad I didn't miss it. I only found out that it was a thing because I was looking up the what the code was at the end of the first story. And I saw that there was a free update with a new story. I was like, what? Hey, King Vader, how you doing? Papa Saturday, yes. Yeah. That's that. That's how you end a stream. Yeah, thanks for coming along. I assume, whether correctly or incorrectly, that tomorrow is the Chibi Nethers Day. Thank you for the good stream. Thank you for coming. We learned many things. We learned that Kiro is the silver gin. It's a type of silver gin. We learned that bears eat children, but only in dreams. And we learned, most importantly, that good papas are good papas regardless of where they are in the world. Tomorrow is Chibi Nethers Day. Yeah. Apparently you am a secret agent. Yes, you am a secret agent Very good at kicking people in the shins. Yeah. Also, Nazis, really bad at being stealthy. Turns out. Yeah. So secret you didn't even know yourself. It's a very deep cover. There's a proper, several layers of hypnotism going on there just to get it out of the brain. And kick a Nazi in the shin? That's fair. Yeah. Thanks for coming along. Hope you had a wonderful time. Again, Saturday, we will continue with this. Blip, blip. I have no idea how long this story is. Presumably it's another 2-streamer. I don't know. Maybe this is the end, and we're going to finish it in 5 minutes. Who knows? I don't. It's a free update to the game. It might not be as long as the rest of the game, but, yeah. And maybe, just maybe, one day I'll get round to actually using the software that this was made in and writing a story of my own. Probably not, but it's on my to-do list alongside approximately 7,000 other things. Can't drive though, so you do need a designated rival/ally who can drive for you. No, what you need is a Mauser. That's enough. You don't have to drive if you have a Mauser. Maybe you'd learn how to drive on the fly. Nothing could ever go wrong with that, right? You'd be as good at driving as I have been in these games. Yeah. Thanks for coming along. Back on Saturday. Chibi Nether's Day tomorrow. Friday hangouts with patrons on Discord. Anything else? Probably not. A rival ally is a rally. Or an avil. I'm going to end the stream now. Thank you for coming along. Hope you had a great time. Look after yourselves. Have a great week. Have a great weekend if I don't see you then. Or talk to you then. Or see your text then. Look after yourselves. Have a great time. I'll see you around. Goodbye.